So I was casually reading the book of Proverbs, and the Lord decided to give this word to me. And this was concerning Proverbs chapter 3, verse 16 through 17. And in chapter 3, verse 16, it says, "Length of days is in her right hand, in her left hand riches and honor." So he really had me meditating on, verse 16. And as I was meditating on it, he had given me the word discretion. And I had not known what discretion meant. So I went ahead and I looked up what the word discretion meant. And in this terms, it was meaning avoiding ungodly behavior. In the beginning of Proverbs, we understand that it speaks a lot about avoiding how we can avoid ungodly behavior. So he would end up pushing me to the point where I was questioning him, asking him, how do we avoid ungodly behavior? And so it was like he kind of whispered, I just was like, when we receive wisdom, okay, discernment will keep us from the way of the ungodly, okay? And so then I started to ask, how do we avoid the ungodly behavior, though, using that discernment? And he started speaking to me. It was a God-centered discernment. So then it was almost like he was asking me, okay, so what does these things mean? I know you know that these things, these are gifts, these are whatnot, but what does wisdom mean? What does this mean? And so I was humbly taking myself to the internet and looking up the biblical meaning terms of wisdom. And one of the terms was from knowing and doing what he says in his word. So just as we test the spirit, just as we are discerning and testing these spirits, we don't just hop in Christ and understand how to discern different spirits from other spirits. And we do this, we have the discernment built up, one, by either praying, by asking God to strengthen our discernment, and two, reading the word consistently being in his word. And so this is how it comes and is strengthened by the Lord. Okay, so then we go on to read in verses 17. What does it say? Her ways are ways of pleasantness. Sorry. And all her paths are peace. So the Lord really had me studying that today, and so I was like, her ways are ways of. So then he had to stop me, and he had to show me okay, so just in verse 16, it was talking about wisdom. So it was like he was having me picture a woman holding something. So then I'm like, okay, those are things that she holds, but what are her ways that she's walking? And so then it was like, okay, so her ways are ways of righteousness and judgment. And it was so funny because when I was actually the Lord had me working in the word yesterday, meditating in the word yesterday and trying to get the rest of this message to me. And he just kept repeating to me righteousness, and judgment until I went and wrote it down. Because I kept repeating it in my mind. And I was like, righteousness and judgment. And I was like, oh, you want me to go write it down? So I went and wrote their word down, Okay, so we got that, right? So her ways are ways of righteousness and judgment. So within wisdom, we receive the knowledge and understanding, okay? So, but the ways of wisdom is the understanding of peace, okay? So, which gives us the absence of mental stress or anxiety. So when we come to the understanding of the value of wisdom, and that's in Proverbs chapter 2, okay? This verse that I'm about to give is Proverbs chapter 2, verses 9. Then you will understand righteousness and justice, equity, and every good path, because we receive these things not on our own will, but by the Spirit which God gave, the Spirit of wisdom, peace, understanding, and knowledge.